are with Roscoe and on Radio Cometa Rossa.
Hello, kids.
So I know that you haven't been slept for some hours.
I've been travelling quite a lot today and yesterday. Yes. So but I'm feeling okay now. Everything's good and I'm happy.
Okay. What about your concert tonight?
I enjoyed so much. It was fantastic. Everyone came out. I had a really good feeling. It was really great. Thank you.
Okay. And I know that you have lived in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've lived in Rome.
You have worked with a filmmaker. Is it
Massimo Di Felici, who is a fantastic filmmaker. And also, this was 15 years ago, 15 anni fa. I worked a little bit on TV with Massimo on a program in Canale 5. This wasn't the only job though. I worked in lavoro in pizzeria, in lots of different situations. But the TV show was fantastic fun. It was just no real. I didn't get. It wasn't. It was just a fluke. It just fell out of the sky. You know, there was no something I didn't do before, and probably won't ever do again.
And how long have you been there?
In Roma?
Yeah.
3 anni. Sì, 15 anni fa. Sì.
And what do you think about Italy?
Oh, I love Italy so much. It's so wonderful there. If I could only convince my wife, mia fidanzata, to come with me, that would be fantastic.
We hope so.
Well, yeah, I'd love to. Obviously, I wrote to her today to say that I'd arrived, and I tried to describe the beautiful mountains that were coming from Napoli to here, past Vesuvio, and all the mountains covered by what do you call the trees? Hazelnut trees.
Hazelnut trees.
The nuts, you know?
Yeah. I
Noccioleti, sì. So I was trying to describe this to her on the internet earlier, to say I'd arrived safely, not to worry, and to say, she's really got to come here also next time, you know.
So
I'm having a really great time already. It's the first night of my tour here. It's the Give Peace Another Chance tour. Yeah.
And about Give Peace Another Chance, do you think that there will be a chance for peace in this world?
Yeah, there has to be. It's the only way. Yeah, there's no other way. More people are becoming. More and more people are becoming stronger and more together with a similar viewpoint all around the world. I've been these last 2 months. I've been in just about every major city in America, in England, in Scotland, on tour, singing my song, and finding like-minded people everywhere, with a big dissatisfaction for world politics and for war in general. You know, it just can't carry on. There's no future in war is dead. You know, it's finished. It's the end. You know,
and so you try to sing for peace too.
Yeah.
For a message of peace or of hope.
Or peace and some kind of hope that that people will see that, you know, for all these years, for the millennia, that there's been a war. Like the British government and the British army have actually been at war constantly for hundreds of years in different places. You know, they just move the situation. They move they change their style. They change their look. But they've been at war now for years and years, and most other countries do. The Americans, you know.
Yeah, but Italy too.
Yeah,
they call it mission of peace. Something,
how can this be? How can this be? You can't have a mission of peace. It's
with
like
soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. I found a funny thing 2 days ago. I was listening to. I found a Chet Atkins record that I hadn't listened to the side 2 of, and it's got the Battle Hymn of the Republic. How can you have a battle hymn? It's the famous Dixie, the famous tune, and I didn't really understand before that it was called a battle hymn. Like, you go into war, like all this bullshit. Like Bob Dylan said a lot of really great things, with God on your side. No, or the Masters of War. He said all this 40 years ago, and a lot of people came together then, but it seemed to be watered down over the years. But now I think this feeling is very much like, it's very critical now. It's critical time. It's like now or never. It's like, give peace another chance, but it's your last fucking chance, yeah? The situation now is too extreme to ignore. You can't. You see it on the television every day, or in the newspapers.
Yeah. Did you have trouble with singing for peace and not for war?
I've had one trouble with this. When Tony Blair first announced the weapons of mass destruction, all those lies, I was singing in a local club in Marylebone in London, and I started to sing this song as a stand against the war, which was like maybe 1 week old then, and it's called War Sucks, and it's written by Mayo Thompson, who's from Texas in the 1960s, in his band called Red Crayola. And more recently, Sonic Boom has made a version of this on a record, but this was years before that. I didn't know that half of the audience were soldiers, and this is how I lost my tooth here. For the fight that kicked off afterward. The fight afterwards was just incredible. It was like a cartoon, Yeah. So I didn't. That was a situation of defense, not of aggression. Where straight away I was singing "War Sucks." I came off the stage, and one of these guys punched me in the mouth and knocked my teeth out. So the rest of the band jumped on to the situation, and eventually the soldiers were taken away in an ambulance to the hospital. The guitarist in my band at that time was really, really tall, great friend of mine, Oliver, in a fantastic. He made this guy's jaw into a Ralph Steadman cartoon, like splat. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So I did get a new tooth as well, but I lost it one time when I was really drunk. So, and I haven't got it together to sort it out. You have to buy these things; cost a lot of money to get a tooth fixed. Hello.
Certo.
That's like, see you soon, I hope. Yeah, thank you. Write me on the okay.
Ciao. Ovviamente le persone che salutano. Okay.
Yeah. So peace. Peace. Quite soon in London, in November in London, I'm going to be playing a concert in Notting Hill, and it's called Regeneration. And it's a 2-day concert with lots of academic speakers come from San Francisco and all kinds of places to talk about how valid in today's world, the validation of the experience of LSD. Because if more people even tried it once, they would hopefully gain a level of consciousness or a way of thinking that could take it to eradicate, to get rid of this idea of war. Because once you've tried that thing, you don't think about this anymore. You start to utilize your life, use your life for art or creative of natural and organic and ecological existence. You can't not do this. Once you find once you take the key, or once you have the knowledge. It's not only a drug, though. There are some people that spend their whole life on the top of a mountain in Tibet to achieve this. But if you can achieve it right now, and make it valid, and it's important right now. We haven't got our whole lives to spend in Tibet before we can change our world. We need to do it now.
So maybe we live in a period in which time is very short, and so we have to do many things. It's very hard to, for example, go on the top of the mountain to think.
Well, yeah, you have to go. You have to. There's the idea of the mountain, or there's the actual mountain. But to gain a balance and to think and to achieve a state of balance with your way of life is really important, you know.
Maybe one person can change something around him. Yeah. Maybe thinking differently. I hope.
It's basically of a circle of connecting with people around the world, and getting that's one good thing about the internet. Like the younger generation on the internet, on Facebook and Twitter, all these things, and these whatever they call it, all these other different social networking sites. They have friends all around the world now. The younger generation. My son has friends. You know, they have friends in Iraq. They have friends in Afghanistan. They have friends in, you know, I don't know, America and Europe, everywhere. So, this is the good thing about it, because no one is going to go and fight their friends. Yeah, they you know, that's the really good thing about the internet. The good thing about it's like almost a little bit dangerous, like in a way that through history, the artist has been dangerous for the high society or society in general. The artist mixes with people in the street. He mixes it with people in the palaces. He mixes with people in the government. There's no specific level of it's a very a communication thing, communication of ideas. Poetry, painters, and my favourite, when I was in New York, my favourite poet that I'm reading at the moment is from Spain, Federico Garcia Lorca. It's so fantastic. He writes about the guitar, he writes about how the gypsies brought the guitar music from Asia, and he says that flamenco is like the pop rubbish. Don't listen to the flamenco. Dig a little deeper, yeah. Whoa.
Go beyond.
Yeah.
Go beyond.
And Franco's soldiers shot his balls off. Yeah, he was gay. You know, they they killed him, shot him in 1936. But the stuff that he wrote, he could paint a picture with a few words, in a way that Salvador Dali could spend a whole painting, you know. In fact, they were quite jealous of him. I think I don't know if you know this film that they made called Garcia Lorca, the film where Brunel and Dali and a few people, they made him out to be a bit of a joke, you know, because they were jealous of the way that he could communicate ideas so directly without having to spend 6 months making a painting, you know. So, you know. So I'm very much into this beat poet dream at the moment. You know, I'm like having a waking dream of being this poet with a gypsy guitar.
What about James Joyce?
I love James Joyce. I was in Dublin doing some work in Dublin a few months ago, trying to find some James Joyce books that are quite hard to find in England. But they don't have them in Dublin. In fact, no one in Dublin likes James Joyce. You know? They don't have it. You know, obviously the chamber music. I've got it from the internet. The lyrics. It's 27 pages long. You know, it's a very big poem. But and this is the one that I first learned from Syd Barrett. The original singer from the Pink Floyd. who started the Pink Floyd, who's one of my favourite groups, my favourite English group. My favourite English artist, musical artist would be, if I had to say, would probably be Sid Barrett. Completely mad, they say, but I don't think so. I think he had the right idea.
And what about?
I was going to say it's not about how famous you can get or how rich you can get. It's about what you do with the time that you've given. You can make a very, very good work in a short time, or like me, I take a long time to do work. when I'm doing I'm almost trying to how fast life has become these days. The world is spinning faster and faster, so I'm working slower and slower to make a balance. I think once you're doing something that you enjoy, why make it end quicker? Because then it will end and it'll be finished. So I like to take my time.
Yeah.
I'm not in any hurry.
It's good.
I'm not really going anywhere. I'm here.
It's a good recipe for for a time. For the time you need for doing things you like.
Time is very abstract anyway. Like, I don't know. If I try to think about time, it's difficult. I don't really think about it. I don't have a watch here. I'm not.
Me too.
I'm not prepared for this. I travel through time in my own way.
And what about Lou Reed?
Lou Reed, as I mentioned earlier, and I love Lou Reed. He for me is one of the greatest living American poets, or certainly New York poets. And when I was in New York 6 weeks ago, looking around all the parts that where all the beat poetry comes from, Bleecker Street and the Village and stuff. And this is where I found the Garcia Lorca book that I'm reading at the moment, still reading. I'm on my second reading already now. He writes so many fantastic things about the guitar, and a lot of it is just so like the fire burning in your chest, about the passion, in search of duende, in search of the fire, of the passion, in search of the beginning of the river, the beginning of the stream that becomes the river. Where it starts. This is what I'm trying to articulate with my songs. Yeah.
And did you put this feeling in your new record?
Well, I'm working on new recordings. Again, since I moved to Sweden, I've re-established my recording studio. Just last week, I had everything completely function, test recording. So it's all systems go again, recording, because it was in boxes while I was in America. It was all in boxes. In London, it was all together for a few weeks. Everything was working fine. Then we packed it up, moved to Sweden. We drove to Sweden. And just last week again, now I've got the recording studio working, and although I've got many recordings in the can, I'm still not ready to release an album yet. There will be an album soon, I think, maybe for Christmas, December. There's going to be a single in maybe 2 weeks now. The test pressing arrived of the vinyl arrived maybe a few days ago. I've seen a picture of it. They're going to send to me through the post. I think it will arrive when I'm at home next week, and that will be the vinyl of "Give Peace Another Chance." Yeah. Give Peace Another Chance is worth mentioning as well, because it's not just like when I play live, I'm playing on my own. There's no bands. I do have some bands occasionally, but I found it a lot easier to do what I do on my own. I couldn't come to Avellino today with a band. It would just cost too much, and there would be too much chaos. If, like my friend the drummer was here, the place would be just chaos. He's the typical drummer, yeah. But on the record, I've got a studio band and a different idea. And on the record are some really favourite players of mine. I consider myself so lucky to have the guys playing on the record. These are Bobby Irwin on drums, and Steve Donnelly guitar, Geraint Watkins, the fantastic piano player. These guys, they play with Nick Lowe and Van Morrison and Randy Newman, and it's incredible, and Bill Wyman, and they play with me also, which they're my friends in London. Yeah, they like my song. They said, okay, we like your song, we'll play. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the Google, if you Google Roscoe, Rosco, Roscoe, and then Give Peace Another Chance, it's possible to see the preview, the promo video with the guys playing with me. Well, you don't see the guys, you just see me, but you can hear them.
Yeah, but
they were not available for making videos.
Which was the song by Jeffrey Lee person?
Jeffrey Lee Pierce.
Yeah.
Gun Club, called Mother of Earth. This is a real favourite song of mine. It's very big, a kind of a big country twang, which I like, boss twang. And Jeffrey Lee Pierce is a fantastic writer. He's no longer with us now, but his band's called the Gun Club from Los Angeles in the 1980s. They had the guitar player in the Gun Club was Kid Congo, who also was the guitar player in the Cramps, on the Cramps' second album, Psychedelic Jungle. And he's got a new thing. I saw him in London last year called Pink Monkey Birds, I think it's called, where it's just fantastic. He's so great. I love him. He's a great guitar player. Kid Congo, go and buy his record.
I love the Idiot Wolves.
Sorry?
The Idiot Wolves. Yeah, from Gun Club.
Yeah,
one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. My favourites. Well, the one that really, because the first album was when I was very young. It's the first time I heard a lot of these. Good night. Thank you. Ciao, ciao. A lot of these songs. The first time I heard some of these blues songs, like the first time I heard Howlin' Wolf's "Cool Drink of Water" was by the Gun Club, or sort of Robert Johnson, and this really was an introduction to me to a lot of really good blues music. When I was very young, 14 years old. Gun Club were great. They were great bands.
And then what about your past bands? For example, Spaceman 3.
Spaceman 3 was a great thing. We did when we were all teenagers. Friends. We've been friends since we were 12 years old. Sonic Boom. I'm still friends, and I love his music. And Pete Bassman as well. We saw each other 2 weeks ago. He came to my show. We had a chat. We had a drink. Maybe we're going to do some more work together. We were talking about having a songwriting session, and I'm looking forward to doing this with him because, I love Pete. We played together in the Spaceman, and we played together in Dark Side, and that was for probably 8 or 9 years. Together, working together all the time, and I kind of miss that. These days, I'm on my own all the time because I don't find someone with the same. I don't find this in people like the Spaceman 3. At that time, we didn't really understand it, but try find 4 people now who have such a passion and such a knowledge about a very similar taste and a very similar direction. In a situation today, it's very difficult to find this, and you don't really realise what you've got until you lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I just I prefer to play on my own actually, because it's just no trouble with no one. I can do the drum part and the bass part and the guitar part and the singing.
Yeah, do many things.
Yeah. So why do I need to work in a band? I like to play. I love the communication with playing, the connection and the communication, playing with other people, and I do quite often do this. But it's not my main thing. I do it as an enjoyment, or I do it in certain situations. For instance, on the tour in England and Scotland, I met a group who coincidentally come from Copenhagen, very near to where I'm living. So they would play their set, and then I play my set, and then I invite them at the end to come and play with me and we just do a spontaneous jam, and that's fantastic. With
yeah.
no criteria, just nothing worked out, all totally. That's the one thing about a band which I don't enjoy, is because you have to play the same 10 songs every time, and each person has to understand those 10 songs, and you have to rehearse. And that's not really rock and roll for me. Rock and roll is in the now. It's about the verve, the now. The feeling in your chest when it's burning is now. It's the like the Garcia Lorca said, the duende. And rock and roll is so, like, when it becomes a formula, then I become really bored, and I'm just not interested anymore.
It becomes in such a way ordinary.
Yeah. You lose the passion and you lose the fire, and everything becomes. If you have to play the same songs in the same way every night of the week, I would stop doing it. I wouldn't be able to. Like tonight, I've done things tonight I never did before, and I do this every night. So if I couldn't do this if I had a band, they would be like, we would argue about it afterwards, Oh, you played that different again, Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So it's very different from one night to another.
Yeah. I feel I've got a general map of what I do, because I know so many songs, and to teach them all to a band, to 3 other people, would take too long, So, but playing on my own, like, I have a general idea of what I'm going to do, and each time is different. The audience is different, the venue is different, the sound is different, and these are the factors that you have to take into consideration. You can't just play the same formula in a different place with a different situation in a different town every night of the week. You can't do that. For me, it kills it. It's killing the what's good about rock and roll. What I like about rock and roll anyway.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been really wonderful, and I'm so enjoyed my stay here in Avellino. Thank you.
I'm happy of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, grazie. Ciao.
Radio Comet.